The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio. From hot dogs to cool kitties, this is Darkside of the Pooch.
Never know where we're headed around here at Darkside of the Pooch. He's Dr. Rab Stewart, the Rossbridge Animal Hospital, and he joins us every single week right here on the TKR app. You can hear the show at least 5 days a week, wherever you get your favorite podcast. For this particular case, you can watch it right here on our YouTube channel as well. Dr. Rab, where are you headed today? You behind the wheel of the car, and do not look at me. Keep your eyes on the road. But where are we headed today?
We got a little league baseball game. My son is playing in Vestavia, so we are en route. We got to be there at 4:30-ish for a 5:30 first pitch.
Well, I'm going to keep you every bit of 23 minutes here, so we're going to get after it because we have a lot to get into today. You ready?
I'm ready.
We got some mutt mail, info at TonyCurryRadio.net, info at TonyCurryRadio.net. We'll get into that. First, I want to start with, I love you. I love your practice. I love everything about it. I had a little situation with my Havanese. He was having this little cough. At least I thought it was a cough. It was a, and then it's like a, and then nothing would come up. And again, there was some vomiting going on. There was some loose stool that was involved in this. My dog is one of those dogs. If it's outside for more than 5 or 10 minutes, it's usually running through something that it's not supposed to be going through. So, usually I'll just let it go for 3 or 4 days and it takes care of itself. In this particular case, I think they did the right thing by bringing Briscoe Dog into the Rossbridge Animal Hospital. But tell me, I just explained to you what was going on. You're the man. What did you guys do to my Pooch? And by the way, Briscoe Dog is doing much better. Thank you.
All right. That was going to be my first question. So Is the cough, is it improved? Is it gone?
Yeah, it's almost gone. Maybe twice a day, maybe.
So it is drastically improved.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Briscoe Dog came in with a myriad of symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the cough, he had the GI issue potentially, and then he had some blood work that was a little bit off. But the most pressing issue was the cough. And so what I assumed was going on was that somehow he caught an upper respiratory infection.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that remains to be seen if that's what it was or not. But in veterinary medicine, a lot of times, we don't know what the exact cause is, but we know the medication that we can give to fix it. And so that's what we do. But, human medicine is like that to some degree as well. So sometimes we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But he had some blood work that was a little bit off, but then at the same time, you don't know. And when I say you, I'm talking about us as veterinarians. We don't know if that's playing into the disease process or if it's what we call an incidental finding.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that it has nothing to do with the symptoms, and we found it just because we were looking for something else.
Yeah. Now for the first time ever, and I'm 58 years of age, for the first time ever, I was told my dog looked thin. And I was kind of taken aback by that because my dog is my baby. It's kind of like someone saying, "Are you feeding your children?" And I was kind of like, "Wait a minute." I said, "Yeah, he's fine." I said, "The last time he came in here about a year ago, he was about, I want to say about the same weight." When you do pick him up, you feel his bones. You can feel his rump bones. And he is first of all, are there just thin dogs? Are there some dogs that are just thinner than other dogs that just don't have a lot of weight on them? Is that true?
Well, the dog belongs to someone named Tone the Bone.
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to feel the dog's bones because he belongs to you.
Is my dog too thin? Because my dog eats. I feed it twice a day. So I know it eats. But I will admit that sometimes when I pick it up, I'm like, wow, he really feels thin.
Well, see, I go back to that. Okay, there's when we check a pet's blood work, routinely there are 2 types of protein on the blood panel.
Mm-hmm.
There's albumin and there's globulin. And they are both proteins but they're both a little bit different. Albumin and globulins, they contribute to the overall amount of protein, but they're different. So globulins can be elevated if we have an inflammatory process going on. Albumin is more of a kind of a liver index, but there are two main reasons why the albumin and the globulins can be low. Well, there's more than that. But so if we have low protein, there's really two places that the protein can be lost. It can either be lost through the urine. So dogs that have kidney disease are going to have low protein because they're losing all that protein through the urine because their kidneys are garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're losing their protein through their GI tract because maybe they have a chronic GI issue and they're having a lot of diarrhea. So I think there is something potentially. Now, it's not all right. People have ailments, and sometimes even if you have something that could potentially be serious, like for example, Crohn's disease.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have horrible Crohn's disease. I have a friend whose daughter she has just been ravaged by Crohn's disease. I mean, she's in bad shape.
Yeah.
And then you have some people whose Crohn's disease is manageable and not really that bad. So the same thing with dogs. I think that Frisco probably has some level of either like a protein losing nephropathy or maybe a protein losing enteropathy, but his symptoms aren't bad, and so it's really not that big of a deal. And in some ways, it might even be a good thing to keep him thin because thin dogs live longer.
Yeah. Can dogs be hypochondriacs?
No, but people can.
Yeah. Well, and that's, of course, my son thinks my dog has cancer. And I'm like, what makes you think our dog has cancer? And he's like, I don't know. But if Frisco dog has cancer, what are you going to do? I'm like, what do you mean? What am I going to do? I'm not going to answer that question. He doesn't have cancer. He's like, well, would you treat him if he did have cancer? I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do for dinner tonight, let alone what I'm going to do if my dog has cancer. I said, he doesn't have cancer. He's fine.
Yeah.
So, but I do think, I mean, this is my dog that I spoke with about on the show quite a lot, fireworks, if he hears the sound effect of rain, I mean, he's going underneath the couch. He's one of those little shaky dogs. And so, I mean, you just look at him and he'll squeal. I mean, he helps if you just look at him. But you guys did great work, and I appreciate you taking care of him. Yes, he is doing much better. So he's doing fantastic. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net, 208-0301, 208-0301, RossBridgeVet.com. They do fantastic work. Dr. Reb owns the joint. We take your email questions. We've got a question here from, it's signed Fleabag, which is kind of funny. But it's actually Jan over in Ross Bridge. She says, I believe we have a flea outbreak in our home. Please help us. Outside heartworm and broken bones and whatever, the worst thing I like to hear when I have an animal in the house is flea outbreak, because the whole idea of some bug laying eggs all over my house sounds absolutely disgusting to me. And it usually doesn't matter what kind of flea shampoo you use. It's got to work its way out, right? Because once you see a flea, you can assume that they have already laid their eggs, and it's got to play out before you're going to kill them off, right?
Yeah. So that's all correct. And almost every time a flea, well, no, let me back up. So a flea is going to deposit eggs. They're going to get on the dog or cat. They're going to bite the dog or cat, and then shortly after, they're going to lay eggs. And so you're going to have to go through several weeks of having a flea issue once you have a flea that's in your house and bites your pet. It's inevitable. But the way that you can kind of curtail it is to put your pet on flea and tick prevention immediately, and be consistent with that. And also vacuum your house really well if you have carpets, but also if you have hardwoods, you still want to vacuum really well because the flea eggs are so small that they can get into and in a lot of cases, they can get in between the boards, the hardwood boards.
Yeah.
So you want to vacuum really well. You want to empty that bag outside and not inside, because if you vacuum up the eggs and then you just dump your canister in your house, they can still hatch from your trash can inside and then bounce out of the trash can.
It's disgusting. I mean, I've had it happen one time, and I'm like, it'll never happen again in my household. I mean, I got neighbors who got fleas right now, and I don't even want my kids to go over there. I'm like,
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, I'm just like, because there's nothing worse sitting there on your recliner or whatever and seeing when those things jump across your chest while you're watching TV, and it's horrible because some people I know don't go through the whole vacuuming situation. I know some people that they put down the bombs and they put the powders out and all those other different things. But once you treat your animal for the flea infestation, I'd give it a good flea dip or whatever, and then vacuum. You should be good to go over the next few weeks.
Well, you're gonna have about 3 months of fleas in your house.
Jeez,
because
dude.
that's basically the flea life cycle from the time it takes the meal to when the eggs hatch and will be exposed to the prevention that you have given your pet.
Okay.
About 3 months is the flea life cycle. So you just have to understand that you are going to start giving preventatives to your pet, and after, you're going to continue because you don't want this to happen again. But just know that the fleas that you see in month 2 and month 3 are not the same fleas that you saw in month 1. They are new fleas that have hatched from the eggs that were deposited by the first wave of fleas. So you just have to stay the course, give the preventatives, and vacuum. And, if you want to call an exterminator, a pest control company, then you can, and they can, further things along. But, usually it's not that bad where you have to do that, but you can. I've got a great one. If you need a bug guy, call me. I got you.
Yeah. Just do the Brevecto thing or whatever it is. And, I mean, people are like, well, it's expensive. Trust me, it's worth every dime. Just to make sure they've got
$30. Yeah, it's less than $30 a month.
It's a dollar
to give your pet heartworm and flea and tick prevention.
Yeah.
Less than $30 a month.
Yeah. Dr. Jack in Knoxville wants to know, are onions bad for my dog? And if they are, why?
They cause anemia. They cause an oxidative anemia. So they are bad. They are size dependent, and I mean the dog size. So the smaller the dog, the less onions they can get. The larger the dog, they'd probably be able to handle a smaller amount, or they could handle a small amount. You don't want to have a large amount. And a small dog getting a large amount could cause problems. Garlic does the same thing, cause an oxidative hemolysis. So the red blood cells lyse, which causes anemia.
That's really interesting because you think of all the things. I mean, they can eat carrots, right? They can eat other vegetables, but just onions is one of those things. It's just a no-no.
Yeah, and I don't know. The thing about look, I'm a little sidebar. I have a really great client who dropped off a veterinary medicine book from the 30s, and it is probably about an inch thick. And this had small and large animal in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's about an inch thick. Okay, now just the the small animal manual of veterinary medicine is probably 8 inches thick.
Wow.
So in the last 100 years, we have gone from an inch thick to 8 inches thick. And that's not even large animal. That's just small animal medicine, not even surgery.
That's crazy.
So the point I'm trying to make is I can't pretend to tell you, I'm not even going to try to tell you what the pathophysiology is of oxidative hemolysis with onions, because I don't know why it does it. I just know that it does do it.
There may be a whole chapter on onions now for dogs. As far as
there is.
Kim
Back
and
in 1930, they didn't even know it had hurt dogs.
Kim in River Chase wants to know, Dr. Rab, I love the show. Do dogs and cats have hot flashes? And if they do, why?
No, I don't. I mean, I guess I should say I don't know. Well, when it comes to like hormonal stuff, like hot flashes with menopause and things like that, I don't know. I guess they could, but the pets that are aid, I don't think that they would, even though they lose all of their hormones immediately. I guess I don't know enough about human physiology and hot flashes to tell you if dogs could have it, but if they did, I don't really know how they would communicate that with us. That's more of like something that you would have to have. They would have to tell you, I'm really hot right now to know.
Yeah,
So I don't know the answer to that.
have you ever seen your dog and it'd be just sitting there in the middle of the floor and it's comfortable and everything's good, and all of a sudden it just starts panting crazy? What does that mean?
Well, the main reasons for panting are, if they're hot or if they're excited or scared or stressed. So yeah, I mean, dogs can, at our office, we see them pant all the time. Half
Sure.
the animals that come in, half the dogs that come in are panting every time they come in because they're anxious about the visit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it happens.
Let me push that question, the hot flash question, to another space, a Tony Curry space. What would something be for a dog to go through a midlife crisis? What would a cat or a dog do if it was going through its midlife crisis? What would it do? Chase cars? What would a cat do? Get, like, start climbing trees really high? What's something that a cat or dog had never done in its life, and all of a sudden it's like, 7 or 8 years old, and it's like, you know what? I'm having a midlife crisis. I'm going to try something new today. What would it be?
I think they're going to go and they're going to poop in your shoes. I think they're going to go and they're going to think, you know what? I've never had,
It's
the
not a mid,
pleasure
it's
of
not a midlife crisis that happens all the time.
pooping in my owner's shoe, and I'm going to try it for the first time and see what happens.
All right. Also, when I had Frisco Dog in there, I had never seen this before. They stuck a swab in his eyeball. What,
Yeah.
what, what? I've never seen that before. And people are like, what? They took the swab inside the eyeball and stuck it down pretty far. What would they do? I know what they're doing because I asked the question, but tell everybody what they were doing there.
That is not in the 1934 1-inch thick
No,
manual of veterinary medicine.
no.
So that was a swab of the conjunctiva. It wasn't in the eye. It wasn't like in the globe of the eye. It was, pull down your lower eyelid and look at the pink tissue, and that's the conjunctiva. So it was a swab of that, because what we are testing for, and which we still don't have results back, because these are not point of care tests in animals. Maybe in a few years they will be, but these are tests that we have to send to a reference lab. So we're testing for common viruses and bacteria when we swab, and cats we do the same thing with, because these viruses and bacteria can be shed through the conjunctiva. Like, for example, herpes virus in dogs and cats is a respiratory and an ocular virus. So we swab the conjunctiva because the virus is going to be shedding through that tissue. So that's just how you pick up the viral particles.
Gotcha. All right. And finally, one final question, and we'll let you go to your practice. You got 4 minutes. Bert in St. Louis wants to know, my dog has had constipation the last 3 or 4 days. Can I treat him with Pepto-Bismol?
Um, well, the answer is the Pepto Bismol is probably not going to hurt, but I don't know if it's gonna help the problem. So the most commonly, people say that their dog is having constipation when it's actually having spasms of the colon and most likely diarrhea, and maybe just there's nothing left to poop out. Now,
Oh, okay.
maybe it is constipation. I'm not saying that it can't be. I'm just saying that the vast majority of the time when people come in and say my dog's constipated, it's posturing to poop and nothing comes out, or maybe like a couple of drops come out, there's a better chance that it's diarrhea. So
Oh, okay.
the first thing is try to figure out if it's truly constipated or if it's just having diarrhea and it's pretty empty and it's having spasms of the colon, which people get too. When you have the runs, You know what that feels like.
Yep.
You've got to hit the toilet and you've got to hit it now. That's because your colon is spasming. So if it's constipated, then it needs some fluids. It needs to drink a lot of water, or sometimes if it's severe enough, they need IV fluids. And sometimes if it's severe enough, they need an enema, which, is all stuff that, you're going to want to go see your vet for. You can try giving it Pepto. It's probably not going to hurt it. You just want to be sure you're giving the right dose. And off the top of my head, I do not know what the Pepto dose is in dogs or cats. And if it's diarrhea, then you need to figure out why. Is it infectious, or is it stress, or is it an autoimmune disorder? It's just inflammation. Long story short, Pepto should be fine, might not cause it, and the dog may be having diarrhea.
Okay, there you go. All right, hey, listen, I won't keep you. Darkside the Pooch, you can hear it every single week, at least 5 days a week right here on our YouTube channel, and we're going to have you on our television show here on ABC 3340 for the first time here in the next few weeks. Looking forward to getting you on there, taking some questions. So send those in, info@TonyCurryRadio.net, info@TonyCurryRadio.net for our TV and our radio program, 208-0301, RossBridgeVet.com. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. We'll catch up next week.
Goodbye, my friend. Until next week.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.